Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. In the first scene of the movie, we see an ambulance in a scene set in the city of Zombiville. It then arrives at the hospital. After that, we see a social worker named Vishwas taking an injured man to the clinic, but it's clear that it's crowded and chaotic inside. Everyone was suffering from an unknown illness, and all the patients had the same symptoms. The doctors were struggling to calm them down. One of the patients was clearly convulsing and more aggressive than the others. After the doctors gave him a sedative injection, he asked them to bring him some water. Vishwas was very surprised by what he saw and wanted to know exactly what was happening. He spoke to one of the doctors standing there and asked him what was going on. The doctor replied that it might be poisoning, then continued and told him to mind his own business, that the situation wasn't as simple as he thought. At that moment, Vishwas's hand went crazy. He grabbed the doctor by the neck and lifted him with one hand. Vishwas struggled to regain control of his hand and apologized to the doctor and left quickly. We then go back to the aggressive patient who opens his eyes, which are completely white, then convulses in a frightening way and turns into a zombie, starts crawling on the floor, and goes after the people in the hospital to eat them. The next day, we see a pregnant woman named Preji, who is sitting and yelling at her husband Sudhir in the car. As the two of them enter the building where their new apartment is, they see the residents yelling at the guard because they found the water tank empty for no reason. As soon as the couple enter their apartment, they are very happy with its large size and start singing and dancing together. Very happy with the baby who will fill their home. Days pass happily, and one day Sudhir sees on the news that a dangerous virus is spreading in the city. We then see an old man walking in the city who encounters a zombie with a terrible smell. The old man thinks it's a prank, but the zombie attacks and bites him. The next day, Sudhir wakes up and gets ready to go to work as if nothing is happening outside. Then we see Preji talking to her mother-in-law, but her mother-in-law is sly. So Preji responds sarcastically, just as she did with Sudhir in the car, and tells her that the baby kicked her in the stomach. Sudhir then goes to work, but there is a severe traffic jam because of a water pipe leak. While stuck in traffic, a poor girl asks him for some water, but he tells her he doesn't have any, and goes to his company, which actually works in bottled water. When he arrives at the factory, Sudhir sees the new water his company is developing, which they claim boosts immunity, and they say they will export this water instead of using it to solve the water shortage in the city. At the same time, we see Vishwas leading a protest outside the company because the company is the real reason for the water shortage. The company's security comes out and pushes Vishwas hard in the chest. At that moment, Vishwas's hand goes crazy again, grabs the security guard by the neck, and lifts him up. Back in the factory, Sudhir sees there is a secret area in the factory, but his manager tells him no one is allowed in that area except the company owner. The manager then learns about the protest and Vishwas attacking the security guards, so he rushes to solve the situation. When the manager arrives, he argues with Vishwas and tells him to leave with his people before he calls the police. Vishwas leaves with his group against his will. We then see Sudhir lost in thought, thinking about the power of Vishwas's hand. At night, Preji's pregnancy hormones kick in, and she argues with her husband, telling him she's hungry and wants to eat. Sudhir goes out to get her food, and by coincidence, Vishwas is in the same place. Vishwas gets a call from his boss, so he goes outside to answer it, and his boss yells at him for what he did with the factory security. Meanwhile, Sudhir is on a video call with his wife while carrying food for her when a zombie attacks him. But luckily, Vishwas arrives and saves him just in time, throwing the zombie away with his hand. Vishwas remembers seeing Sudhir at the factory, and they argue, both yelling at each other. Vishwas's hand goes crazy again, trying to grab Sudhir by the throat. Vishwas tries to calm his hand, but it goes completely wild and attacks Vishwas himself. Sudhir escapes quickly, and he and his wife go to the police station to report what happened. The officer tells him not to exaggerate the situation, but Sudhir insists he's sure a zombie attacked him. The officer ignores him. Sudhir goes home, sleeps, and covers up well. He decides to investigate the matter himself the next day. The next day at the factory, Sudhir asks the factory manager for the production accounts to investigate the matter himself the next day. The next day at the factory, Sudhir asks the factory manager for the production accounts to investigate the water shortage himself, but the manager dodges the question and tells him the company owner is throwing a big party at his house and that Sudhir is invited. At the same time at the police station, Vishwas is arrested and tells them it wasn't him who did it was his hand. The officer says, "I actually believe you, but you'll stay with us a bit until someone comes to bail out your hand." At night, Sudhir goes to the party thrown by his boss. Meanwhile, we see zombies entering the factory and attacking the workers. Back at the party, Sudhir finally meets the company owner, who is very nice at first. He takes Sudhir aside and asks him to play with the numbers in the pollution board documents so they won't bother them. Sudhir feels uneasy about the owner's words, but the owner tells him to focus on making more money instead of worrying about water pollution. Meanwhile, Preji orders an Uber, but the driver gets lost and can't reach her. A zombie attacks and kills the driver. At the police station, Vishwas's cellmate annoys him, so Vishwas's hand goes crazy and lifts him by the neck. The police come in to break up the fight, and at that moment a zombie enters the police station and attacks everyone inside, biting the officer by the neck. Vishwas manages to escape from the cell and locks the zombie inside, but unfortunately his cellmate, who was handcuffed to him, turns into a zombie and attacks him. Vishwas defends himself with difficulty, grabs a water jug, and smashes it on the zombie's head. Strangely, the zombie dies after water spills on him. We then go to Preji, who went out on the street to wait for the Uber, but finds many zombies attacking her, so she grabs her maid and they both run away. The zombies invade the entire building. It turns out they are a gang, but as soon as one of them sees a zombie, he attacks it, but he freezes in place out of fear and can't shoot it. So she takes the gun from him and shoots the zombie in the back. The three of them escape. They encounter a man the zombie was attacking him, so they save him, and he escapes with them. Sudhir returns home after the party, but his car gets attacked by zombies. He is terrified inside and raises a picture of his god in the car, as if that would save him from them. But of course, the zombies don't leave him alone. Luckily, Braji and her team see him and notice that the zombies are attracted to loud noises. So they turn on the alarms of distant cars, and the zombies run towards them. They take advantage of the opportunity, get in Sudhir's car, and escape. Then we see a journalist and her photographer colleague enter the police station. There, we find Vishwas handcuffed with a dead zombie. Vishwas frees himself from the handcuffs and the three of them escape. They try to find a way to get out of the city, but the chief, who has also turned into a zombie, confronts them and attacks. Fortunately, Sudhir appears and hits the zombie chief with his car. The zombie chief gets up again and attacks Sudhir. Of course, cowardly Sudhir is scared of the zombie and can't do anything. Then Vishwas arrives and saves him. After that, Vishwas, the journalist, and the photographer get into Sudhir's car and escape from the zombies. They head to the city limits, wanting to get out, but find a police checkpoint preventing anyone from leaving to stop the infection from spreading outside the city. Sudhir tries to convince the police that they are not zombies and are fine, but his strange behavior convinces the police that he has gone mad because of the virus. Sudhir then tells them he's not infected and takes off all his clothes to prove it, but the police tell him he won't be allowed to leave anyway. The old man threatens the police with his rifle, but the police shoot him. The team returns to the city and takes the old man with them. As soon as they reach the city, they take the old man to the hospital, but unfortunately, they find the place overrun with zombies. A big battle breaks out between them and the zombies. Vishwas pushes a table onto three of them, and the old man joins in with his wheelchair. Cowardly Sudhir tries to escape, but his bad luck leads him into another room full of zombies. He miraculously escapes without being bitten. They all escape and enter the emergency room. The zombies try to break into the room. Then Braji gets an idea and covers the glass window so the zombies can't see them. Her idea works, and the zombies calm down and stop pushing the door. But the group is still trapped in the emergency room. Vishwas notices that some of the zombies were not bitten. The doctor says this is due to weak immunity. He tells him about the sick people who thought they were poisoned. The doctor saw all his patients with his own eyes as they turned into zombies. The old man's condition gets worse, so the doctor goes to treat him. The journalist turns on the TV to see if the news has anything that could help, but learns that the internet has been cut off from the city, and it's under quarantine. If things get worse, they'll sacrifice the whole city. The group starts to worry about what they've heard and argue with each other. Sudhir shouts at them to shut up because his wife is pregnant. Sudhir looks at his arm and sees it covered in blood. He thinks he's been bitten by a zombie. The doctor then says the old man needs a blood transfusion of type B positive. Braji asks Sudhir to donate blood since he has the same type, but Sudhir leaves her and goes into another room. Braji follows him, and Sudhir confesses he was bitten and tells her to stay away from him. He says he'll lock himself in the room so he won't be a danger to her. Braji thinks about living alone in the new big apartment after him. The next day, Sudhir wakes up in his usual weird way, stretching like a zombie. Braji comes from behind and hits him on the head with an iron bar. The mark on his hand turns out not to be a bite, just a small scratch. But Braji doesn't believe him and asks Vishwas to check. They confirm Sudhir is fine. Braji hugs him happily. The doctor treats a little girl, and Sudhir says the townspeople are getting sick because of the toxic waste from the factory he works at, as the company uses harmful chemicals to treat the water. Vishwas encourages the group, saying they must go to the factory and stop what's happening. They all go to the factory, But Braji doesn't want Sudhir to go with them and tries to convince him to stay with her. Sudhir says he has to go because he doesn't want to be a cowardly father to his new child. The team prepares to face the zombies, covering themselves with anything that might protect them. Sudhir asks Vishwas about his hand and can't believe it moves on its own. Vishwas tells him that the water company owner killed his whole family in one night, which awakened the hidden spirit in his hand. The team leaves the room, plays a song on a mobile phone, and throws it far away, distracting the zombies who run after it. They take the opportunity to escape from the hospital, get in the car, and head to the factory. When the team enters the factory, they discover it's full of zombies. Like before, they throw a water bottle to make noise, and the zombies run towards it, trapping them inside the factory. They reach the water pipe's gate and are shocked by the sight of the dead guard. They compose themselves, break the gate, and go to the water pipes where they see the harmful chemicals. Then, the company owner and factory manager appear and offer them a huge bribe to leave them alone. But the team refuses. Vishwas points his gun at the company owner. The factory owner insults Vishwas, and they advise Sudhir not to insult Vishwas, but it's too late. Vishwas's hand squeezes the trigger, but the gun is empty. The factory manager shoots Vishwas in the arm and tries to escape with the company owner, but unfortunately they run into the factory workers who have turned into zombies and get eaten. Sudhir and his group try to escape from the zombies, but can't. With difficulty, they enter a room and lock themselves in as the zombies surround them. Vishwas's injury gets worse, and the journalist tries to help him. At this point, they lose hope of getting out alive. Sudhir calls his wife and tells her to leave the hospital with the others because he might not make it back. Braji starts crying, but her maid comforts her and says her husband is right and they have to escape. The hospital team tries to escape, but unfortunately, one of them locks them in and refuses to open the door for them because they had argued with him before. The zombies are about to reach them, but luckily, a mysterious person comes from outside, breaks the glass of the door, and throws a smoke bomb. Because of the smoke, the fire sprinklers go off, and they quickly escape from the hospital. Bergie sees the man who locked them in driving an ambulance, so she pulls him out and hits him, and they all get into the ambulance, leaving the waiter who locked them in to die. At the same time, Sudhir snaps out of his despair, refusing to die at the hands of some zombies. He breaks the glass of the room window, and he and his team escape. But unfortunately, they encounter a large number of zombies and have no choice but to fight them. Vishwas discovers his true power and uses it in the battle against the zombies. We see the whole group fighting the zombies, but even more zombies come, so they're forced to escape. Bergie, driving the ambulance, sees a fire truck and tells the others, "Continue, I'm going to save my beloved." Another person volunteers to go with her. Vishwas and his friends get out of the factory, trying to fend off the zombies with iron barricades, but it's useless. The zombies surround them again, but luckily, the fire truck arrives, with Bergie and her team inside. They drench the zombies with water, and the zombies freeze. Sudhir and his team realize the zombies' weakness is water, so they go to the fire truck, grab a hose, and use it against the zombies. Thanks to the discovery about water, the zombie invasion ends. The reporter asks him how he managed to stop the zombies, and he says all the credit goes to his beloved's hand and doesn't mention Sudhir or anyone from the group that was with him. But Sudhir had more important things to care about, because his wife finally gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Sudhir celebrates with his wife and family. In the final scene of the movie, we see the waiter who locked them in has turned into a zombie and is walking on the train tracks, and a train comes and hits him. And here, we reach the end of our movie.